This episode of Hak5 is brought to you by Domain.com.
Hello and welcome to Hak5. My name is Darren and this is your weekly dose of tech, no less. Kind of an unusual scene. Here I am actually at the Seattle-Tacoma Airport, about to head back from tour camp, which was, I can't even begin to explain to you how amazing. And you guys will find out next week as we kick off season 12 with some of the amazing stuff that we saw at tour camp. But right now, I'm excited to talk to you guys about DEFCON. You know, it's just like, it's con season. It's like, you know, Black Hat, the DEFCON, the tour camp. We've got Derby coming up. We've got tour again in San Diego. It's going to be so fantastic, and some awesome Hak5 meetups. So be sure to pay attention to the social networks, the Twitters, the Google Pluses, to find out how you can get involved with Hak5 and fun stuff that we're doing in the San Francisco Bay Area. But anyway, without further ado, I just wanted to kick it off to our awesome segments. We've got the Quad Shot guys back. We got Georgia Weidman finding out all about Android hacking. It's going to be good. I'll see you on the other side. You may remember 1 year ago here at DEFCON 2011, we ran into this awesome UAV, and now we're here to talk to, once again, the guys from Quad Shot. What's up, Peter?
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well. So it was exactly 1 year ago that we saw this flying thing over the Rio, and we're like, what is that? And talked to you about this thing that you were trying to get going. You did the Kickstarter thing, had you guys out in studio. That was so cool. It's been exactly 1 year now. What have you learned about the experience?
It was a very encouraging experience. It's like, it took us a year, now we are shipping, and we have all the molds done, and things are getting together. And we are now fulfilling all the orders from Kickstarter and continuing from there on.
So what would you say are some of the most challenging aspects of the project? And feel free, anybody, to just jump in here.
So I can chime in on that. I did the mechanical design, and so the mold process was sort of my my bailiwick, and getting that done took almost 6 months. But we're really happy with how they came out, and so now the production models just look beautiful. And but it took a long time to get there.
Now, I was actually following the Kickstarter and all the updates, and one of the things I noticed is you guys had to change materials for the pylons at one point, and so can somebody tell me what's the deal behind that, and what does that mean for the consumer?
So basically, we're prototyping using EPP material. It is a foam material that makes it light and nice, but we had to realize that this material is difficult to work with and creates longer times of turnaround at the molding factory and many other things. So we had to decide to use EPO instead. That allowed us to do the pylons with overmolding. So basically you have a plastic skeleton inside the pylon that is rigid, and you can overmold it with the foam. So that made it much better.
So what were the pros and cons of the two different materials, EPP and EPO?
So EPP, it's very durable. You can like hit it as hard as you want, and unless you physically tear it, it will rebound to its original shape. EPO, which is what we're using, it's a little easier to like ding with your fingernail, but it's much more non-reactive. So EPP, for example, in this environment here where it's 108 degrees or something, it would actually start to kind of wilt and slowly change and creep and change shape in the heat. EPO is totally like doesn't care. We leave them in like the back. Yeah, we leave it in the car here in the garage, and it's where it's 1,000,000 degrees. Doesn't matter. And it also has EPO has this really nice, shiny, beautiful surface. And it's just a really clean material to work with. So
Pranay, you were telling me that you actually did some crash testing and really tried to tear up a quad shot. What was the procedure like? What was your method for this, and what did you find with the new material?
Well, so we initially chose EPP, like Jeff said, because it's a very robust material. And when we decided to switch to EPO, we said, well, we better make sure that it's at least as robust, right? And we have these accelerometers, so we can test how many Gs an impact creates. So right after we got our first shots from the factory with the EPO material, we went out, spent a couple of days just flying it up and whacking this aircraft into the ground, whacking it into trees. And essentially what we found was, and I think we had like 15 G collisions, and what we found was that whereas the EPP would at some point essentially just tear, and then you'd have to glue the wing back together, EPO would, you know, get creased, it would have some dings, but then you could take those out with hot water. But the airframe would by and large just stay intact. And so, you know, that was fantastic because we had the advantages of new material. And the disadvantages that we were scared of, that it wouldn't be as robust, were just not true because it was better. So it worked out quite well.
So what other things have changed besides the material? Is the autopilot software and all of the other accelerometers and the board, have they stayed pretty much the same since we last spoke?
So definitely. So this was actually an interesting story in itself. So we got more money than we expected. So,
a lot. I just remember refreshing the Kickstarter page when the Hak5 episode came out. I know that there's a lot of viewers that are really excited to get there. Sorry, tangent.
Yes, so basically we said okay, so we got so much more support from the people, so we want to give back and we want to improve on it. So basically the autopilot got a new revision. It's a 2.0 revision of the Lisa M autopilot. We also improved the IMU. We are using new chips from EventSense that are smaller, more reliable, have better behavior in calibration, so they don't diverge between the chips so much. So you don't need to. It is improving things if you calibrate.
So there was you would see jitter. Is that what it was?
No, basically the manufacturing differences between the chips are not as significant as they were before. So it is basically all the software as it comes is able to deal with it much better. You don't need to calibrate it as much. Of course, it would improve things, but it is completely acceptable performance without doing that.
And remind me again what IMU stands for?
So it is an inertial measurement unit. So we have in the basic model, we have just the 3 accelerometers, 3 gyroscopes in this one tiny chip. In the higher level models, we have also a pressure sensor for the altitude measurement, as well as a magnetometer for heading. So adding GPS and doing some more interesting stuff is definitely possible.
Well, that's what I'm really excited to do with this. Is it seems like a great platform to start building on that more interesting stuff. Have you been able to maintain the same payload capacity, around 13 ounces or so?
So the airframe itself, because of the robustness requirements and the manufacturing requirements, got a little bit heavier, but at the end it's basically the same payload. It's not impacting it very much.
So, and one other exciting change we did, I think since we first showed it to you, is so the pylons now, instead of being glued in, actually snap in and snap out. And so yeah, he can grab one. So the spar that runs through the long axis of the wing is strong enough that the pylon just literally snaps on. So here he'll show you this. So the skeleton inside the foam has this just C-shaped gripper basically, and then inside the wing is the carbon fiber tube. And so basically for transporter, if you crash, these can just pop out and then you just snap them in like that, and so they're locked in place. And so to do that, we had to make the carbon fiber spar a little heftier, and so that's essentially the biggest change. The foam weights are nearly identical.
And so that must obviously make it easier for the consumer to assemble.
Transport. Of course, you can now fold it much easier. Like last year, I remember we were coming here with 2 quad shots, and basically the whole trunk was taken by the quad shots. Now you can snap them off, and we just put it behind the passenger seats in the back, stuck them up. Perfect.
They're like IKEA, they flat pack. And so now you guys, now that it's okay, you did you get your investment and you were working with the factories, and now all of those other logistics and fun things come into place, hey, actually it would be great if this is all flat packed. What have you learned that you weren't expecting that you even needed to find out about?
Shipping boxes.
That's one thing, no hacker can figure that out. Well, I mean, we did, but it's just, yes, okay.
It's we had some backers from Australia, for example. They have super weird requirements in sizes of boxes. It's we had to shave off inches of the box at the end, so that the difference was $500 shipment versus $50.
Well, that's a hack within itself. Now, tell me, Chris, about the actual flying of it with the different materials, since it is a little heavier. Have you actually? Is there a difference? How does it feel?
The major difference is because they do fly better. They're slippier. They're smoother. They're polished. Before we machine them ourselves out of the EPP, we never we didn't wire cut them. We didn't get to hot wire them because the scimitar shape, the crescent shape. So these are definitely more aerodynamically efficient. They're better.
Cool, and of course with the autopilot software that kind of assists as well. That must make, and with the new version of the board, I'm sure that all gets a little sexier.
Yeah, this is like things like changes more connectors so that you can have now much easier access to the 8 connector for a gimbal that is actuated in both axes. That is now really easy to do. Well, it's something for people to figure out. But it's this software advantage is like, we had a working software, as you saw. It was flying really nice. But over this year, we were like flying a lot and did quite a lot of improvements in the algorithms for compensating, for example, in a turn. So maybe.
Yeah, how does that evolve?
So one of the things that, you mentioned the jitter. Now, part of the reason for the jitter initially was that the control system was based in such a way as to fly in a certain area of the flight envelope, at a certain angle of attack and a certain throttle setting. So now what we've gone ahead and done is that we've made it such that, different types of control systems and different types of control gains are employed depending on what the angle of the vehicle is or what the speed of the vehicle is. And so now you can get very, very stable flight in really, really, like a huge envelope. So you can firewall the throttle and still have a nice, stable, really fast flight, and just pull all kinds of angles, and it'll still be nice and stable. And so that's helped a lot. And then we've done a lot with safeties because again, designing for manufacturing and sending it out into the public is very different. So.
You say designing for safety. What do you mean by that?
Well, so things like initially last year we had this on-off switch on our transmitter that would turn it on. Now, if you pulled the pitch stick, for example, and turned it on, the thing would actually spin up its props and come and eat your face. Now what we have is a safety where it makes sure that your sticks have to be centered, your throttle has to be all the way down before the autopilot arms. And therefore, you have to make an affirmative action, put on your, turn everything on, push up your throttle, and only then will it take off. And so you know exactly that it's going to just take off straight, and it's not going to just go in any random direction because a switch was, configured wrong, for example.
And that's the kind of refinement that you find when you have a year to start. And have you thought about doing like some sort of like AI self-preservation where it's like, my altitude's dropping rather quickly and I'm not pointed up. Maybe I want to flip over and hit the engines.
Well, there are things that we're working on. At the moment, one of the things that we have to kind of work around as far as, giving it autonomous features is to keep it within the FAA guidelines. And
you're right, because isn't there like a point of intelligence where then you happen to get like regulations come into play?
Absolutely. So essentially what we've done at the moment is that if you lose radio contact, for example, or if you turn off your transmitter by mistake, what it will do is it'll turn off the motors and essentially do a fast glide down to the earth. So because the point of impact at that point is probably not heavy enough to damage the airframe significantly compared to if the motors are turning and you're just doing a power dive into the ground. So that kind of helps a little bit. And also if the motors are powered off, it's much less likely to damage other things on the ground or hurt other people because you don't have these spinning props. And so that's one of the safety features we've added as well.
And because the difference there is if you were to press, if the radio were to disconnect, you can't keep those motors going and have intelligence.
Right.
So the FAA rules are under review right now, but essentially right now you have to operate as a remote control vehicle where the pilot always has affirmative control of the aircraft. So right now you cannot sell a fully autonomous UAV and then go and fly it and go and fly it all autonomously by itself. We're selling it as a kit, and it's essentially an RC vehicle. And then what we're hoping people do is on their own of their own volition, personal use. Do cool things with it, and because it is okay to have something like this where you still maintain that RC link, but can add more autonomy on top of that.
And then so it truly is a hackable UAV platform.
Yes, absolutely.
So what's next for you guys?
For now, basically finish up building them and sending them out to people, and we will continue improving the software, improving things, and we are just waiting for people to come back and say what they like, what they don't like, what we should improve, and go from there, and maybe build some more add-ons to it, more hardware. We'll see.
And we also have some exciting other also different vehicles in the same way that the quad shot's different from an airplane and a helicopter. We have other exciting types of vehicles we're just getting started on, so a lot of ideas coming up.
You guys will have to let us know, especially when you get all of these. I just imagine like a swarm of them mesh networking and taking over the skies. Thank you so much, guys. It's really a pleasure. I'm so happy to see how, you know, in 1 year it's really blown up. You guys are proud of your success. So get this, I'm in the Seattle-Tacoma airport on my way back from TourCon, and I just had a brilliant idea. Adorable puppy rentals. It's like mail order DVD service, except for cute puppies, and then that way you can go downtown and pick up chicks, right? Well, when you have awesome ideas like that, what you need to do is go over to domain.com. It's the best place to register a domain for your next great idea. They've got, you know, .coms, .cos, all of the domain names. Now, my favorite, of course, .com. It's the original. You know, we all know and love it. It's globally understood. Immediate credibility is given. You know what your website is going to be, and plus, if you want to invest in like selling and trading domains, the .coms have the highest aftermarket value. So find new .com names over at domain.com. You know, Shannon and I, we love them. They're affordable, they're reliable, they're easy to use, and plus domain.com is so active on Twitter. Their support is so cool. They'll take care of you. Tweet at domain.com. And you know, show some love, because domain.com wants to hook you guys up, just like they're hooking Hak5 up. Get 15% off. They're already affordable domain names when you end their web hosting, when you head over to domain.com and use the coupon code HAK5. That's 15% off for the savings, and don't forget to use coupon code HAK5. When you think domain names, think domain.com. So who doesn't love a framework? What's your framework about?
It's about bringing smartphones into a pen test. So up until now, it's kind of been like we have all these bring your own devices and whatnot that are attaching to our email, our servers, just getting on the network, being just like another node on the network. But there's no real way to test them from a social engineering standpoint, from a vulnerability standpoint, and I'm trying to make that possible.
So we're talking about mobile phones and tablets, you know, our iOS and Android devices. So what are you trying to do with the software?
What I'm trying to do is just bring in all of the known exploits, social engineering attacks, remote attacks, client-side, post-exploitation, write some things for each platform, see once you've gotten in what you're able to find from a corporate standpoint, from post-exploitation. Just trying to make it something like we're used to as network pen testers, a tool that looks normal to us, has the same sort of feel, and gives us this information about smartphones.
Well, I mean, it's obviously ridiculously important right now, and as we've seen, like, there's, you know, exploit after exploit, and usually used for good fun, like jailbreaking or rooting, and yet so much devastation could be brought upon a corporation in an environment now where it's so much so that people are just like, oh, well, of course I can bring my iPhone into work and connect it to the Wi-Fi, and, you know, boom, another node. Must know, though, why another toolkit instead of just making everything like a module for a toolkit or a framework that already exists, like, you know, the Metasplits of the world?
Where I create my own thing, I feel like those tools work really great. I love Metasploit and I love Social Engineer Toolkit. I use them on every engagement, but I just felt like this had a different scenario. We're moving more towards using the mobile modem in the phone as opposed to just a regular callback over the network, so it just seemed easier to create my own thing. Hopefully I want to do some integration with those other tools at some point, but right now just what I was looking for was just a little bit different.
Okay, so tell me about this. The software, it's obviously, you know, that goes on your computer. What's the tie-in with the phone then?
Well, what I actually have right now, your option to use the mobile modem. For instance, if you want to send out SMSs, like social engineering SMSs, try and get them to click on a link or download an app, the exact same thing we're seeing from malware writers. So are my users in the environment going to click on this? So it seems like most of the tools right now, you have to use a paid gateway over the internet to send SMS, but I figure you're already paying for probably infinite SMSs on your phone, so my platform actually hooks up to the mobile modem you already have in your phone. So when you tell it from the server to send an SMS, your phone actually sends it.
So my scenario as a pen tester now is I go out and I get myself like a burner phone, something prepaid for a month while I'm doing this engagement, and I'm sending all of my, you know, phishing text messages through this, just as I would create bogus email addresses.
Absolutely, exactly. Like either put a prepaid SIM in it or just get a burner phone from somewhere like Best Buy, and yeah, just for exactly the same way, exact same attacks. We're seeing them in the wild. So we need to know as corporations, are our users going to click on these malicious emails? Are they going to click on malicious text messages? Same thing. If they're on the network attaching to your email, attaching to any other corporate node, then we need to know, are our users falling for social engineering?
So what about the actual exploitation? So, you know, I'm using this tool to send out those text messages. I get them to click. What do I get them to click?
Right now, either it will put up a malicious web page, it'll try and pop their browser, typical way you do it with PCs as well, and we've seen that in the phone side as well. And it also will have you directly download an app like, oh wow, this is a cool Angry Birds add-on, please download this. For instance, I had one of my phone providers actually send me an SMS, and it said, you're a premium handset subscriber, you can download this security app, and sent me to a third-party app store. So I can build something just like that. So I want to know if my...
This was legit that your phone company sent you?
Yes, this was absolutely legit.
Okay, we have to burn them. What telco is this?
It was T-Mobile.
Nice.
Right, so I want to know if I'm in a corporate environment, if my users are going to click on that. They're seeing this. So if they're falling for it for T-Mobile when it's legit, will they fall for it when it's J-random hacker that's not legit? So same sort of scenarios we've been doing with PCs forever, but we're just moving it into the phone realm.
Yeah, in fact, more and more the hacking is going mobile. I mean, I actually think I'm on J-random hacker's cellular network here. I mean, it is DEFCON, and I mean, even like the ninja guys over there have like their own cell tower going.
Right, exactly. I think you'll see more and more of it. I think it's just really starting to get big. A lot of people are like, oh, I haven't seen that much mobile malware. But I think it's just more fiscally awesome still to do IE or Firefox. But I say 3 to 5 years, we're not even going to have laptops. It's just going to be like your big phone over there and maybe a little bigger. So I think in the future, that's all there's going to be is mobile malware. And they're just like Linux systems, so hacking Android, hacking iPhone, it's not that it's hard, it's just that it's a newer platform. We just haven't seen all of the switch. But I got a text message from Target the other day saying that I want a $600 gift card and please go to this link that was like target.com.something.biz. So me as a understanding how the internet works realized this was something.biz, but just, you know, my dad or my mom, maybe they would think that's target.com and yay, they want a gift card, but it's obviously a phishing attack. So it is starting to happen. So I think corporations are going to want to see this more and more. When they come to me for a pen test, they're going to want to know everything and not just leaving out the smartphones because they could be a definite vulnerability as well.
So tell me exactly how the Department of Defense ties into all this.
You mean DARPA? Well, I actually got a DARPA Cyber Fast Track grant for this, so they actually paid me to do the research, but I keep all the intellectual property rights, so it's like a researcher's dream. So I got seed money for my company, basically, is the way I used it. So I'm like, for the next 8 months, I know I've got money, so I can see whether I can make it on my own. So it was really great for me. They have been really great to work with. I think I turned in the proposal, which wasn't even that long or hard. You think you're going to work with the government, this is going to be a really long, hard process, but it was a really easy template to work with to do the work, and then I turned it in on Monday, and I think I got approved on Thursday, and then started work on Monday.
That's awesome to see, too, like the government reaching out to hackers.
Right, a lot of the top people have them. A lot of the talks here at DEF CON and Black Hat have been the product of the DARPA Cyber Fast Track, and they've just extended it for another year. It was supposed to end on August 3rd for proposals, but they've just announced they're going to extend it for another year. So if you have a research idea, I think it's definitely a way to go.
Cool. Now, so where can people get the research? Because obviously this just released. Where can people go and download it and start, you know, doing a little pen testing with their own mobile devices?
Right, this tool is released open source and BSD licensed, so you can pretty much do anything with it, and I'd love to hear your feedback if you use it, things you'd like to see as it grows. This is just the initial release, version 0.1, so find the bugs, find the new features you want. It is at bulbsecurity.com, my new company, so you can download it all open source there.
All right, thank you so much, Georgia.
Thank you for having me.
Well, that just about wraps up this episode of Hak5. I want to say thank you for Achievement Unlocked. It's season 11, a big one, and so much cool stuff is happening. When we launch season 12, we're doing some cool stuff to the set. We're adding some really nifty things. Next week, of course, begins our coverage of Core Camp that I can't stress how wonderful was. And of course, I want to remind you that you can support the show directly by going over to HakShop, HAKShop.com. as well as go ahead and check out hak5.org/follow for all the places where you can subscribe to the social networks, and that's where we'll have information on some cool Bay Area meetups. If you're in Northern California, it's going to be really rad. And I guess with all that, I should probably get back to the fun that I'm having at the Seattle-Tacoma Airport with, oh yes, 2 pineapples at the same time. More on that later. Talk to you guys soon. Oh, what was it? Trust your technologist.